G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. We're going to have a background briefing on a Sunday morning, and the topic for today is police brutality and tasers. We're talking about an Argentinian student who was killed in Sydney on St Patrick's Day. Basically because the crowd had been well behaved all night, the police had nothing else to do, so they jumped on the first person who misbehaved.
Hello, Sunday Extra here on RN. Jonathan Green with you, 6-ish after 8. Time for background briefing, and this week the death of Roberto Laudissio Curti. He was chased, pinned down, tasered multiple times by New South Wales police officers before he died, and his death has reignited concerns about police use of tasers. At the coronial inquest, police officers said the use of force against Mr Curti was reasonable and justified. Counsel assisting the coroner, Jeremy Gormley SC, said it was a thuggish act to taser Mr Curti while he was handcuffed and on the ground. The New South Wales coroner, Mary Jerram, will hand down her findings in just over a week. For background briefing, Wendy Carlisle has pieced together the last minutes of Roberto Laudissio Curti's life.
Are you there? Hello, this is Lee. Are you okay? There's a robbery at a city convenience store.
The sequence of events which ultimately led to the death of Roberto Laudissio Curti began with a 000 call from a street cleaner who witnessed a shirtless man jump across the counter of a convenience store in Sydney's CBD.
It's near 75 King Street, 2 doors from 75 King Street, and it's between George and York. I saw the guys just jumping the carriage.
Between the 000 call and his death 45 minutes later, Roberto Laudissio Curti would be tasered 14 times.
Fuck.
Much of it while handcuffed and lying face down on a city pavement. 3 cans of capsicum spray would be used on him, and at one stage, up to 10 police surrounded him as he lay on the ground. Taser cam footage showed part of this desperate struggle. In this excerpt, an officer can be heard yelling, "Taser, taser, stop resisting or you'll be tasered again." As a death in police custody, Roberto Laudissio Curti became a matter for the coroner.
Brave police
Last
officers.
month,
11 to
Coroner
1
Jerram
with
heard
tasers
from
and
30
capsicain.
witnesses,
What a
including
handcuffed
police,
man.
medical experts, an independent expert on taser use and police force, and a statement from the family. Police said their use of the weapon was reasonable and consistent with their training, but the counsel assisting the coroner, Jeremy Gormley SC, said the police use of tasers was unreasonable, excessive, and at one stage he said it was an act of thuggery. One of the witnesses, Tommy Wang, had just got home from a night out when he saw the desperate struggle between police and Roberto on the footpath. He was horrified by what he saw.
I think no one could have interrupted the police because the amount of force and the amount of violence and the amount of sound was too loud, too messy, too violent that you cannot interrupt. So I think we're all scared and watching, like we don't want to mess up with the police in the future. Don't want to get treated like that. So.
They're not a police service.
Refused to release
They're a
one
police
of the sequences
force.
of taser cam footage. Mary Jerram said it was not in the public interest because on it, Roberto could be heard crying out as he's repeatedly tasered in drive stun mode, which is when the taser is applied directly to the skin. It's part of a sequence where he was drive stunned 7 times in just 1 minute and 20 seconds. And according to the police taser log, the combined duration of the electric shock is 51 seconds. officers were tasering Roberto simultaneously, although neither said they were aware of what the other one was doing. Roberto's uncle Domingos came out of the court after watching the footage, barely able to speak.
After he handcuffed, he has tasered him for 5 times, and a few occasions, 14 seconds, 8 seconds, 7 seconds, I don't remember the others, but long duration. Huge amount of pain because it was consecutive 5 shots. You've heard yourself. That's tough, believe me.
The trouble is that PoLice are trained and indoctrinated to see anybody who they think may be disobedient as a public enemy who needs to be suppressed unto death.
Some of the medical experts
if that's what it makes to keep the police feeling good about themselves.
Although they thought they could have contributed to a heart attack. A toxicologist ruled out LSD as a cause of death. One expert
Acid doesn't kill you,
died from
police kill you.
positional asphyxia, that is suffocation and heart attack, induced by lying face down in a dangerous position after his struggle with police. But another expert disagreed with that. While the coroner is yet to hand down her findings, 2 days after the inquest finished, New South Wales Police Minister Mike Gallagher was standing by the police use of tasers.
There can be no doubt, and I see it myself as I travel around the state talking to police officers, that they do see the presence of a taser as a de-escalator in terms of violent confrontation, and for many of those situations there is a rapid de-escalation without the taser even being removed from the holster.
Hello, I'm Wendy Carlisle, and this is Background Briefing.
The trouble is the police believe they have the right to apply force to anything that upsets them, anything they don't understand, anything that frightens them.
Did police shoot first and ask questions later?
Duh. Sorry, that's a Turkish word for
Because of
don't.
the public interest in the case, the State Coroner Mary Jerem allowed the media to record the family statement to the court.
My name is Anna, I'm Roberto's sister. This is my sister Maria Fernanda, my husband Michael, and my uncle Domingos. So first of all, I would like to thank Your Honor for giving us the opportunity to speak.
Roberto's sister was able to paint a very human portrait of her brother in the midst of the almost clinical dissection of the circumstances surrounding his death. Roberto was known to his family as Beto.
Beto was undertaking a business degree in a good university in Brazil, and we also knew that he would like to live abroad. We knew how important learning English was for his career, so we decided to give him the opportunity to come to Australia to live with Mike and I, and to improve his English and spend some time with us. It was a blessing to have him here in Australia. He loved living here, and he made several friends very quickly. One day, we were in Bondi with him just a few months after he came, and it was amazing how many people he knew. He was even friends with all the shop owners.
She said Roberto was the brother that her husband Mike never had.
Just a few months before Beto died, Mike taught him a pop song on the guitar. Jeez, that was a mistake. Beto practiced that song so many times that it's been permanently burned into our heads. It was the same thing with looking for a casual job in Sydney. We helped him to put a CV together, but once we had printed them out, I don't think there was a single cafe or bar owner in Balmain who didn't got a copy. Beto was working on a cafe for a few weeks just before he died.
And Roberto really loved his football.
During this time here, Beto also joined the Balmain soccer team, and we loved to watch him play. He always took that very seriously. He was also teaching Mike's nephew to play soccer and was considering teaching soccer to young kids while he was studying.
Roberto's journey from being just another overseas student to a death in police custody was meticulously documented by the city's security cameras, the taser cam, and recorded police messages. It was as if a film was being made of his final hours, but in reality it was just the digital city at work. And it began like this, with the 000 call from a street cleaner.
Are you there? Hello, it's police. Are you okay? There's a robbery at a city convenience store.
Sorry, for city convenience store, is it?
So he was actually killed by a bloody street cleaner.
2 Dawson 75 King Street, and it's between...
He stole a
George
packet
and
of
York.
chocolate
I saw the
biscuits
guys just
while he was
jumping the
high on
cab.
LSD, and they
Okay,
killed
I'll
him for
ask
that.
you some questions.
Summary
Okay.
execution on the spot.
Okay, listen, while I'm talking to you,
Death
I'm going to
by
get the police
pink
on
pig
the way,
in
okay?
blue
I
suit.
need you to answer these questions. So did they have any weapons at all?
I didn't say...
You couldn't see, so what did you actually see from them?
The street cleaner saw no weapons, but because of the way OOO calls are categorised, if a weapon cannot be definitively ruled out, it's upgraded to an armed robbery.
Oh, you can't
But
see
Roberto
one, so there
was
must be one.
unarmed. His crime?
You can't
The
see a
theft
weapon.
of 2 packets of biscuits.
2 packets of
The
biscuits.
sequence of events that led to Roberto being in that
Fucking
convenience store
police
at
procedure.
5:30 are very important to the
I'd
story.
like to see a hot soldering iron
He'd
go
been
up the
out
arsehole of a
celebrating
police
St.
officer who
Patrick's Day
dreamt up
with a
that
couple of
protocol.
friends. They'd had a few drinks, and then at around 11 o'clock, they all shared a tab of LSD. The drug induced in
One
Roberto
between
a
three.
psychotic episode. He was paranoid and fearful, and his worried friends gave him $75 and told him to catch a taxi home. But Roberto didn't go
Seemed
home.
freaking
At
paranoid.
one stage, he
Out
rang
into
his
the
sister
city.
and asked her why she was trying to kill him. She urged him to come home. At another stage, Roberto was involved in an altercation with 4 other young men in the city, and a security camera picked them up on a city street as Roberto was being chased. A short time later, the city convenience store camera shows Roberto entering the shop, and he jumps the counter and tells the shopkeeper that people are trying to kill him. The shopkeeper would later tell police he thought Roberto was just a little bit crazy. It was this scene that the cleaner saw when she dialed 000, and at precisely 5:25 and 27 seconds, the police response swung into gear. The 2 long beeps at the beginning of this police radio recording indicate a code red job, in other words, an armed robbery.
Brock's car, any car in the vicinity for an armed robbery, city convenience store.
Roberto
So they got it wrong
was
from the
now
start.
in the sights of the police.
Radio, apparently there was only one POI.
5:31
brown curly
and
hair.
0 seconds.
The Brazilian
POI, person
he's a teenager
of interest.
with brown skin, and he was wearing
brown
blue
skin.
jeans.
Oh, he might be a black fella. That
For
means
the
he's
next
open
30
season.
minutes, Roberto would be tracked by 50 security cameras. He's seen at one point stopping at a pedestrian crossing and pushing the walk button. He looks like someone who's had a very big night out and is a bit worse for wear. And at 5:33 and 20 seconds, police radio corrected the initial armed robbery call.
5:33 and
Yeah,
20
Roxanne,
seconds.
I can confirm no weapon was sighted. No weapon was sighted, Roxanne.
Another police officer wants to know what Roberto allegedly stole from the convenience store.
Yeah, Roxanne, I copied that before. Just what was the proceeds?
The answer? 2 packets of biscuits.
Radio, just 2 packets of biscuits.
The city's security cameras help police to quickly locate Roberto.
So they
In one
knew
sequence,
at that
4 or
point,
5
no
police
weapon, he only
chased
pinched a
Roberto
couple of
down
packets of
City
biscuits.
Laneway.
Yeah, there's a football shoot going down Pitt Street, heading towards Liverpool Street.
At the same time, witness Tommy Wang was arriving home in a taxi.
I was arriving home, so I took a taxi, and the taxi just stopped roughly around this area, right in front of the Century Tower.
He told the inquest he could see police chasing a
gonna check the
shirtless
camera.
man from where he was standing at the entrance to his apartment at the Century Tower.
And
Seems to be
when I
still
was doing
recording.
the taxi, I heard some zapping sound and a lot of shouting and noises whilst I was still in the car, so it caught me and my friend and the taxi driver's attention. So we saw right across the road in front of the Telstra building. It's about 6 to 7 police chasing a topless man with his jeans falling down the street.
What we now know from the police taser cam and the chronology of taser use presented in court is that at about now, a constable drew his taser from his appointment belt. And that activated the taser cam. taser cam is of poor quality and the vision is grainy. There is the sound of a chase, and an officer warns his fellow officers with the words, "Get out of the way, taser." The inquest would hear that there were taser wires everywhere and other officers were getting zapped by them. And then a laser pinpoints Roberto's back. His jeans are falling down, the shot is fired. And Roberto falls like a rag doll onto the pavement in an instant response called neuromuscular incapacitation. The officer yells out, "Taser, taser, stop resisting or you'll be tasered again." Roberto is lying on the footpath face up, and an officer puts his knee on his stomach, and Roberto looks like he's groaning and gulping for air. He's not throwing punches, and quickly he's handcuffed. A few seconds later, Roberto appears to try and sit up. An officer can be heard saying, "Is he cuffed?" and "Stop fucking resisting." And that's where the taser cam finishes. A minute later, the next phase of tasering will begin. This time the tasering is in drive stun mode, and according to the police standard operating procedures, or SOPs, drive stunning should only be used in the most extreme or what's called exigent circumstances, but nowhere is the word exigent defined in the police manual. The SOPs say repeated tasering should be avoided because of the risk of serious injury or death. Now, probationary constable Daniel Barling, just 6 months in the force, begins to drive stun Roberto.
Babyface pigs.
Simultaneously, another
Fucking
officer
dangerous
is
things.
drive stunning Roberto, and between them, they drive stun him 7 times. During the inquest, both officers said neither had seen the other officer tasering Roberto.
Tunnel
Nor
vision.
did they see
Target
any other
fixation.
officer
They're only fucking
using
seeing what
3
they're doing.
cans of capsicum spray on him.
3 cans of
Nevertheless,
capsicum.
it must have been a desperate struggle between police and Roberto.
Yeah, thanks for resisting fire.
Police radio tells the officer on the scene to take a breath and repeat what she's seeing. The constable says he's really violent, about 10 cops here, and he's still going.
295, you're very broken up. Take a breath and repeat. The male is resisting violently or was?
216, yeah, radio, he's really violent, about 10 cops here and he's still going.
Police would later say that they feared for their own safety. Roberto
From a handcuff.
had superhuman strength, and despite being cuffed and face down
They're
on the
reacting
pavement,
to their own
they said he was
fears.
not
They're
under
not reacting
control.
to what he's doing.
Tommy
as to what
Wang,
they're afraid
who
of.
would later give evidence at the coronial inquest into what he saw,
Anybody who asks
told
for the job of a
background
police
briefing
officer is
he felt the
fundamentally
police
incapable of carrying out the
behaved like
duties.
a mob of gangsters.
As a bystander, and it's my opinion, I thought they brought their personal emotion into it. Maybe Roberto wasn't very polite to the police or didn't
This is
react
my
the way
first
the
time
police
hearing
wanted.
this.
So that
It only gets
they deal with the
broadcast
police
once in the
officers
whole
and
week.
but anyone will be scared seeing 6 police shouting and chasing like that.
You say it didn't look like police officers. What did they look like?
Oh, this is my opinion. I think gangster mob trying to take down a young guy.
Tommy Wang was standing about 20 metres away. His view was partly obscured by the police, but he thought Roberto was on the ground.
And he was surrounded by 6 other police, at least. And he was just struggling on the ground with a lot of, I'll say, pain in his voice. And it was obvious he was on the ground. He was not sitting or kneeling or anything.
And you say that you thought he was in pain. What makes you say that?
Oh, this is by the agony from his voice and by the continuous sounds of taser that I heard. So it was quite obvious he was struggling.
The
It was
struggle
St.
went
Patrick's
on for
Day.
some time.
the crowd was well behaved. The city was over-policed. The police were bored on night shift with nobody to beat up.
And we were 4 of us watching it together and chatting about it.
What were you saying to each other?
The concierge was saying, this is brutal, and we're just wondering what did the guy do.
Tommy and his friend then went into the apartment block.
What he did
at that
justifies
stage,
the brutality during the arrest.
Alive, Tommy thinks, but he'd stopped struggling.
They're conditioned to accept summary justice on the streets from the police.
He discovered what happened, and he made a statement to the police.
And the road was shut down, and there was a few police, and they said there was a crime scene last night, and there was another officer. They were looking for witnesses for the night, so I left my details and a very brief statement with the officers, but they never contacted me after that.
Tommy says it was only after he spoke to the newspaper reporter.
When the police kill somebody, they don't want anybody who saw it
background briefing
involved in the investigation.
With that journalist that the police did indeed contact her to get Tommy's mobile phone number.
I mean, they had my contacts and everything, but it wasn't until until things got, the media got attention of the whole thing, and a whole different detectives, when they contacted me, they didn't get my number through the police. It was from Senior Oroficer when they got my number, and and they were surprised that I left details and everything. They didn't know about it.
So they didn't know that you'd already made a statement to the police?
Want to know.
Yes, yeah.
Police have declined to comment. The inquest generated immense media interest, a story that goes straight to public concerns about any possible link between tasers and death. There's no medical evidence that conclusively answers this question.
Because they don't want there to be.
Police guidelines warn against repeated use of tasers because of the risk
big string of people being tasered and then dying.
And against using tasers
that's not evidence.
on persons
not
of
if you
interest
don't want it to be.
who are handcuffed,
like smoking and lung cancer.
Absolutely
it's not evidence.
necessary.
Not if you don't want it to be.
And it was on this point that the police were pushed at the coronial inquest. Reporter Barbara Miller filed daily reports from the inquest for the ABC's PM program.
This is how I come to know that it was going to be on.
Jeremy Gormley SC put it to the young constable that tasering Mr. Curti after he was handcuffed had been excessive. The constable disagreed. Mr. Gormley pressed the matter, suggesting to the witness that his use of the taser on 5 occasions was completely contrary to good policing. The counsel assisting then went further, suggesting to the young officer that his actions constituted an act of thuggery. An objection by a police lawyer to the term thuggery was overruled by the coroner, Mary Jerome.
Objection
Constable
overruled.
Barling rejected the word thuggery, saying, "I believe I was justified on each occasion."
And that was also the view from the police tactical weapons trainer, Senior Sergeant Peter Davis, who was not involved in the incident. He told the inquest that the use of taser by the officers was justified.
They live in their own
but
world.
Sergeant Gregory Cooper, now Inspector Cooper, who was the most senior officer on the scene, testified that he told his subordinates not to use their tasers because the situation was under control. ABC reporter Barbara Miller.
The inspector testified that he called out, no, he's in handcuffs.
Ignored
he's
the
in
orders of the senior officer on the scene. At the time, they kept going because they were having fun with their taser and their paranoid fantasy.
Given evidence so far remembers the words being said, and tasers continued to be deployed in what's known as drive-stun mode directly to the skin.
Inspector Cooper's version of events
I'm going
was disputed
to end this film and recommence a new one because I can't guarantee uploading more than 30 minutes. I want to get everything on this.
For several other police